What's going on, guys? Hey, welcome back to my show. This is Rom, Hire a Bunch of Fire Bunches, your personal consultant for job application, job interview, anything regarded. We're gonna do that in this episode. So let's do a typical dancing. There we go. All right. So today's episode is kind of similar to the previous one, but we have a very special case I'm gonna analyze with you guys to help you understand a better comprehension about some difficult questions that was being asked to some of the famous people in the world and how they answer those questions so we can learn from it, right? Last time we have the good old great Elon Musk, and today we're gonna have the Steve Jobs. Yes, the one and the only Steve Jobs. He had this last interview in 1995. We're gonna see why it is lost, and I have seen this interview for a couple times, and I believe there are some hard questions that he was asked, and where we can learn something from, and we can definitely apply his answer, his modules to our preparation for our job interview. I did do. Oh, by the way, you can find the previous episode on the I guess top right corner for the card, so you guys can go back and review and learn. So anyway, so I did listed topics, timestamp, and a number of questions here for the whole interview, and I of course going to put the whole interview below in the description boxes for you guys to review if you like the whole interview. Well, lucky enough, we have, I believe it's double um, bilingual subtitles for the interview, so you guys can see and check on it. And let's pop this thing up. So, oops,
Interviewed Steve Jobs.
crap. All right, Steve Jobs, last interview.
I'm Bob Cringely. 16 years ago, when I was making my television series Triumph of the Nerds, I interviewed Steve Jobs. That was in 1995. 10 years earlier, Steve had left Apple following a bruising struggle with John Scully,
Sorry, I have to
CEO
show
of
up,
the company.
so
At the time of
I
our
don't
interview,
own.
Steve was running Next, the niche computer company he founded after leaving Apple.
So I don't own the copyright. All right, fair
Little
use.
did we know that within 18 months, he would sell Next to Apple, and 6 months later, he'd be running the place. The way things work in television, we use only a part of that interview in the series, and for years we thought the interview was lost forever because the master tape went missing while being shipped from London to the US in the 1990s. Then, just a few days ago, series director Paul Sen found a VHS copy of that interview in his garage. There are very few TV interviews with Steve Jobs, and almost no good ones. They rarely show the charisma, candor, and vision that this interview does. And so, to honor an amazing man, here's that interview in its entirety. Most of this has never been seen before. So, how did
All
you...
right, here's the question. First question, but this is not our first question. Our first question will jump to the 17th minutes. Let's see what it is.
So we had this fantastic booth there. We had a projection television showing the Apple II and showing its graphics, which today look very crude, but at that time were by far the most advanced graphics on a personal computer. And I think, my recollection is we stole the show. And a lot of dealers and distributors started lining up, and we were off and running.
How old were you?
21.
21.
Yeah.
You're 21, you're a big success. You just sort of done it by the seat of your pants. You don't have any particular training in this. How do you learn to run a company?
All right, so the first question is, how did he learn running the company when he was so young and so experienced on management? This is a very hard question, and let's see how he answered that.
Um,
Here's the pause.
Throughout the years in business, I found something, which was I'd always ask why you do things. And the answers you invariably get are, oh, that's just the way it's done. Nobody knows why they do what they do. Nobody thinks about things very deeply in business. That's what I found. I'll give you an example. When we were building our Apple I's in the garage, we knew exactly what they cost. When we got into a factory in the Apple II days, the accounting had this notion of a standard cost, where you kind of set a standard cost, and then at the end of a quarter, you'd adjust it with a variance. And I kept asking, well, why do we do this? And the answer was, well, that's just the way it's done. And after about 6 months of digging into this, what I realized was the reason you do it is because you don't really have good enough controls to know how much it costs. So you guess, and then you fix your guess at the end of the quarter. And the reason you don't know how much it costs is because your information systems aren't good enough. So, but nobody said it that way. And so later on, when we designed this automated factory for Macintosh, we were able to get rid of a lot of these antiquated concepts and know exactly what something cost to the second. So in business, a lot of things are, I call it folklore. They're done because they were done yesterday and the day before. And so what that means is if you're willing to sort of ask a lot of questions and think about things and work really hard, you can learn business pretty fast. It's not the hardest thing in the world.
Not rocket science.
All right. Okay, cool. So let's get back to it. So the very first question was asked, yeah, so how do you manage that? How do you do that when you're not experienced? And the similar question we can be asked is, okay, so tell me about experience that you learned, improved, or solved something, right? So the way he answered is, I did that through asking question and working hard, and also he threw out example that, okay, the folklore that I listened to was the example that I, make myself management, learn management and how to control the company. And for us guys, I think we can do this way, that the structure we're gonna use to answer such a question will be, you put an example first of why this is important, that you need to learn, improve, and solve this question. And then you give the interviewer the steps on how you're solving the question, right? So, good. So, let's see the next question. And I believe that's, there we go. We're gonna do 35. Cool.
Is your passion, your vision, and how do you order your priorities in there? What's important to you in the development of a product?
How do you order? How do you order your priority at work? So how do you prioritize your work, your schedule, your days? Let's see. His answer is really, really interesting. First of all, the pause. The pause is very long. Here we go.
One of the things that really hurt Apple was after I left, John Sculley got a very serious disease.
John Sculley was the CEO back then. He hired from Pepsi, Pepsi Coke.
And that disease, I've seen other people get it too. It's the disease of thinking that a really great idea is 90% of the work. And that if you just tell all these other people, here's this great idea, then of course they can go off and make it happen. And the problem with that is that there's just a tremendous amount of craftsmanship in between a great idea and a great product. And as you evolve that great idea, it changes and grows. It never comes out like it starts, because you learn a lot more as you get into the subtleties of it. And you also find there's tremendous trade-offs that you have to make. I mean, there are just certain things you can't make electrons do. There are certain things you can't make plastic do or glass do. And as you get into what factories do or robots do, and as you get into all these things, designing a product is keeping 5,000 things in your brain, these concepts, and fitting them all together in kind of continuing to push to fit them together in new and different ways to get what you want. And every day you discover something new that is a new problem or a new opportunity to fit these things together a little differently. And it's that process that is the magic.
All right, I think he's kind of off track.
Man, scary looking. I'll show you something.
So he's giving some example back in the his time when he was a kid. Older neighbor was talking about some stone grinding.
The same common stones.
It's talking about teamwork actually, but special.
My metaphor, a little bit of noise, had come out these beautiful.
Okay.
And that's always been in my mind my metaphor for a team working really hard on something they're passionate about is that it's through the team, through that group of incredibly talented people, bumping up against each other, having arguments, having fights sometimes, making some noise, and working together. They polish each other, and they polish the ideas, and what comes out are these really beautiful stones. So it's hard to explain, and it's certainly not the result of one person. I mean, people like symbols, so I'm the symbol of certain things, but it really was a team effort on the Mac. Now, in my life, I observed something fairly early on at Apple, which I didn't know how to explain it then, but I've thought a lot about it since. Most things in life, the dynamic range between average and the best is at most 2 to 1. Right? Like if you go to New York City and you get an average taxi cab driver versus the best taxi cab driver, you're probably going to get to your destination with the best taxi cab maybe 30% faster.
Yep.
In an automobile, what's the difference between an average and the best? Maybe, I don't know, 20%. The best CD player and an average CD player, I don't know, 20%. So 2 to 1 is a big dynamic range in most of life. In software, and it used to be the case in hardware too, the difference between average and the best is 50 to 1, maybe 100 to 1.
Easy.
Okay? Very few things in life are like this, but what I was lucky enough to spend my life in is like this. And so I've built a lot of my success off finding these truly gifted people and not settling for B and C players, but really going for the A players. And I found something. I found that when you get enough A players together, when you go through the incredible work to find 5 of these A players, they really like working with each other because they've never had a chance to do that before. And they don't want to work with B and C players, and so it becomes self-policing, and they only want to hire more A players. And so you build up these pockets of A players, and it propagates. And that's what the Mac team was like. They were all A players. And these were extraordinarily talented people. So,
But they're also
Nice. All right, so so he was kind of a little off track, in the answering the question. But at the end of the day, he's kind of getting back to track, talking about how he actually managed to prioritize the significance, any prioritize significance and jobs, days, schedules for the company and even for the products. So as we can tell, yeah, the hard question here is how to prioritize your work. And similar example for you guys, interviewers, interviewees, between you could be asked about how do you organize your work and days and your schedule. So Steve very smart about it. He said, well, the way that I did that is because always finding the true gifted people so that they can self-managing everything. For us, we can do that, but through the structure of his answer, we can answer questions like this. We can show the interviewers the steps, the details of how we managing our days, our everydays and schedules, and then give example of details about the management and also organization that we do for daily life, daily works, or some specific project, right? Cool. So basically, that's pretty much. That's pretty much about the question. I do have a little bonus question that I want to share in the interview, and let's see what it is. And this question is amazing. If you guys can actually, oh, I didn't start in music actually. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. What's your vision of 10 years from now on with technology that you are developing? That's very. Let's see how he answered that.
10 years from now, with this technology that you're developing.
well, I think the internet and the web, there are 2 exciting things happening in software and in computing today. I think one is obvious, but the other one is the web. The web is incredibly exciting because it is the fulfillment of a lot of our dreams that the computer would ultimately not.
Hey, remember, this was 1995, not 2005, not 2015. It was 30 years ago, literally.
Not be primarily a device for computation, but metamorphosize into a device for communication. And with the web, that's finally happening. And secondly, it's exciting because Microsoft doesn't own it, and therefore there's a tremendous amount of innovation happening.
LOL to Bill Gates.
So I think that the web is going to be profound in what it does to our society. As you know, about 15% of the goods and services in the U.S. are sold via catalogs over the television. All that's going to go on the web and more. Billions and billions, soon tens of billions of dollars worth of goods and services are going to be sold on the web. A way to think about it is the ultimate direct-to-customer distribution channel. Another way to think about it is the smallest company in the world can look as large as the largest company in the world on the web. So I guess I think the web, as we look back 10 years from now, the web is going to be the defining technology, the defining social moment for computing. And I think it's going to be huge. I think it's breathed a whole new generation of life into personal computing. And I think it's going to be huge. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. What, guys, what a visionary speaking that he has. I gotta say, look, Steve, he's really a hero for the generations, for the era of information technology, software, and hardware. He did have a really big vision, and actually a real vision for what's going on in the society and the industry. But that's why we're here, right, guys? That's why we're here learning from the legacy about how to answer some of the hardest questions. Well, although it sounds kind of, not the purpose of the interview, but it is what it is. I mean, we learned from the giants, we learned from the legacy, and who can help us to do our interview, who can help us to live better life, and even, did better for our interview. So, guys, hey, this is Fire Bunches. This is Ram, just a personal consultant for job application, job interview. This is gonna be at the end of our episode, but look, if you like, subscribe, comments, don't like, dislike, and also comment and share my channel. I'm gonna do more interview analysis like this one, and also definitely, hey, I'm gonna share more about my personal interview experience in the next few episodes. So hey, look, July 4th, may the 4th be with you. Happy holiday for anybody in Americas, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace out.